Welcome to the Wine Cage. I'm Dylan.
I'm Amanda.
And on this cloudy Sunday evening, we are drinking Favourite Son by the Parker Coonawarra Estate. And this is a Cabernet Malbec 2021. Now, we drank a Favourite Son once before and we weren't that impressed by it. Do you remember what that was? It wasn't a Cab Malbec. It was maybe just a Cab Sav, I think.
Cab Sav or maybe even a Shiraz.
Okay, yeah. But we had a wine from this winemaker previously. We were not that impressed. Not our favourite son. Probably, the son that just slightly disappointed in. It was more like that. So we thought we'd give them another shot with the Cab Malbec. And that's what we're doing here. So before we get into the smell and the nose and the taste, Amanda's going to tell us a bit about the graphic design here, which I, as someone who has a blind spot for graphic design, I'm very intrigued as to what someone who knows something about it makes of this label.
I feel like I should just interject there and say that whilst I know a bit about graphic design, that doesn't mean that anything I say on these videos...
No, you are an expert.
It's not gospel. It's just my personal taste. So do with that information what you will. Having said that, I find this very ugly. This is like... I don't even know where to begin. The type treatment is quite lazy. They've spread this out while keeping this kind of standard, and then used a completely different typeface for the year for no clear reason. It's all spaced higgledy-piggledy. The shade of purple is an affront to my aesthetic taste. And then there's
Good Lord. I feel like I should snatch the bottle back. I'm starting to feel bad for them.
I'm not even done yet.
Yeah.
The image of the building here, it's an attempt at something sort of classic, which a lot of wine labels will have an illustration of the winery or other building on the property. This is like a modern minimalist take on that kind of theme. I don't think it's working. It sort of just looks a bit flat and random to me.
It just looks like someone copied an elevation from a really plain suburban house onto the front.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess not. It's sort of interesting, but it's not working.
It's fine.
And the font doesn't really go with that. Like, that looks modern, but the font looks somewhat classic.
Exactly, yeah.
Because of the serif?
Serif, correct.
Yeah, I know something about type.
I believe, and don't quote me on this is where my knowledge of typography falls down a little bit, but I believe this is a slab serif font, which is a little bit more fat and solid than a typical serif, but it still doesn't work. It's just not great. But yeah.
All right. Well, that's the label. I mean, it's inoffensive. It's fine, but obviously it has a lot of technical graphic design faults.
I feel terrible now, just so you know.
No. It's look, you have to be honest. So I appreciate it. But more to the point, the choice of copy on the back is interesting.
This really had us raising our eyebrows a bit.
We don't normally want to read out the whole label on the back and bore you with that, but this one's kind of interesting. It says, this label, the, quote, favourite son of the Parker Estate range, acknowledges that when it comes to wine, like children, one can never choose a favourite. I feel like that's wrong on both counts, and everyone knows that. Anyway, this cabinet. All right, that's my fault. This Cabernet Malbec from the outstanding 2021 vintage can be enjoyed in its youth or over the next decade with appropriate cellaring. That's an unfortunate choice of wording. It's a questionable choice.
It's questionable.
Anyway, I feel like we're really ragging on this. So let's put all the label, the cover of the book aside and have a look at how it actually smells and tastes. Color-wise, Yeah, it's red wine. It's kind of dark, kind of purpley.
It's a little purpley.
So I guess one day we'll see some sediment and we'll be able to talk about that. So that'll be interesting. How does it smell? Now, on the positive here, for me, the nose on this has a lovely floral smell to it. It feels like walking into a florist, not that strong, or just into a garden in bloom. It's very pleasing, very smooth, very floral, very botanical. What do you think?
I agree with that. It has a nice nose. It sort of has a little bit of a chocolatey kind of undertone, which I always like. Yeah, it smells good. It smells promising.
It's a very pleasing nose. We're going to have a bit of a taste of it now, and we'll come back in a second with our thoughts on that. You know, it's strange because we were just tasting this before the video and I was finding it a bit harsh. I must say, on that taste just then, it's like my palate has settled and it actually is quite smooth and had a note that I didn't notice before. It had quite a nice chocolatey kind of note to it. We also transitioned to this wine last night while eating dinner and found that it was a favorable transition from the wine that we were drinking. We thought this tastes pretty good. It's a nice follow-on from the one that we were having before. But here are some other notes about it. The taste for me, you don't mind if I'm going first,
Please.
The taste for me is spicy, tingly. It's got a good, strong flavor, but it's kind of a one-note wine. It doesn't evolve. It doesn't evolve on the palate with separate, distinct beats of flavor. It just kind of has a single flavor that comes and goes. And the negative on this one is that it's a bit sour on the exit. As I say though, it has settled a bit even just since we've started drinking it tonight, and I'm still actually quite enjoying it. What do you reckon?
I agree with that. I was surprised when I took that sip just now. It was nicer than I expected it to be, which it's sort of I agree with you. It's sort of one note, but that note isn't a bad note. It does taste a little bit off on the finish, but the tastes leading up to that are quite nice.
Yeah, as I said, the plus on this one is that it's not weak in flavour. It's got a good, strong flavour, and that cuts through when you're eating as well, which is really nice. That's what you want. It's not just watery. It has a decent punch to it. You were saying earlier that it has a hint of vodka, and I agree. It's just got that, what did you call it? Like when it's got that fumy,
yeah.
You said paint. It's got a hint of paint thinner. That's a bit harsh. It's not like that. It does just have a weird slight vodka,
almost chemically sort of aftertaste, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's subtle though. But yeah, the negative on this, and I'm noticing it a lot more now, is that slight sour on the exit, and that to me is what's bringing this down and keeping this son of ours a slight disappointment. He's that kind of son that when you're telling people about him, you're like, he's good. He's still trying to figure things out. That's kind of son. So how do you rate our son?
I would perhaps go a 6.5. I don't dislike this. I think it's a good wine. It's a solid drinker. I would enjoy it with a meal. I'd be happy to be served this at a restaurant, but I don't think that I'd be jumping to repurchase it.
That's actually a good point. I agree. I think that could be a good marker for rating a wine a 6.5 versus a 7. We've rated some of our favourite wines a 7. I think we rated Lisboa a 7. One of us rated a 7, the other a 7.5. But I think a 7's a repurchase. This one, happy drinking it, enjoying it, great with food, but I don't think it's a repurchase for us. And so I think it makes sense that it's sitting at that 6.5 mark. Now, I think the cost of this one was around $14. I'm not going to mention where we bought it from because I'm not sure if we should do that. We're not sponsored by anyone at all, but we bought it from the big liquor retailer, the big green one. So take that. Yeah, and I think we got a member discount on as well, so that brought it down a bit more. So this is a very inexpensive red. So I mean, you get what you pay for, but that said, we have had reds around that same price point that are a bit better than this. So not a repurchase for us, but we are enjoying it. Would happily drink it, and that is Coonawarra Estate's Favourite Son Cabernet Malbec 2021. Thanks for watching, and we hope you'll join us on the next one.
Cheers.